Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans, I'm Keith Oneshot, and this is my Comic Complete dramatic reading series, and today we will be covering Dark Days The Forge from DC Comics. All art, text, characters, and storylines belong to DC Comics and their respective owners, not me. If you enjoyed these stories, feel free to go out and support DC Comics in your local comic book shop. We start the story off in ancient Egypt, where we see a group of people riding through the desert at night, chasing after something in a rush. We then read journal entries from Carter Hall, in which Carter says, "There's a feeling you get at the beginning of an adventure. You feel it in your veins, the channels, your heart starts pounding, beating only for discovery. My name is Carter Hall, and this is my final journal. I have lived many lives, but I still remember that night like it was yesterday. A young boy had spied something in the sky, a light, and we rode out together, my princess, my advisor, our guards, to see what it was. We feel it in the air. The start of something big. Something was coming, something wondrous, a message from the gods perhaps, a sign, but it was no sign. It was a clue to the greatest mystery in the history of humankind, and it was written in metal." We then see in the sky a falling bird-like spaceship on a crash course with Earth, and Carter Hall and his people are there just in time to be there as it crashes. We are then brought to the Bermuda Triangle in the present day, where we see a volcano erupting, and the scientist is at a nearby base going over important research on the volcano, and the scientist says, "I stayed to protect what we just learned. I keep reading and rereading the data, hoping it comes together, hoping that what I saw wasn't true. There's something wrong with the Earth's core. There's something in the metal." We then see metal claws covered in lava break through the walls of the volcano, and it turns out to be Batman inside of a huge metal exo batsuit. Batman opens up the exosuit and reaches out his hand to the scientist as he says to him, "Dr. Madison, the only way out is through the volcano. Get in!" Dr. Madison is shocked as he says, "Batman!" We then see Batman and the Doctor in the Batman exosuit going through the volcano. As the Doctor panics, the suit sounds an alarm that says, "Pressure mounting." Batman then says, "Compensate! We just need to break through into the open ocean." The suit then sends out another alarm that says, "Temperature surpassing safe levels. Suit will not hold." Batman then screams, "I said compensate, damn it!" We then hear a loud "Krakatoo!" as we see lava blast into the ocean. Then we see Aquaman and a few of his dolphin friends swimming towards Batman to help. Aquaman then says while he's swimming, "I see them!" As Aquaman gets to Batman and Dr. Madison, Batman says to Aquaman, "Aquaman, get him to the surface." Aquaman replies, "What about you?" Batman then says, "I need to retrieve the data card from my pressure suit." To which Aquaman replies, "The lava flow will consume that behemoth in seconds. Leave it." Then Batman swims towards the pressure suit as he says, "I can't." Then he retrieves the data card and says, "There." We then see Aquaman on the beach as Batman walks out of the ocean and says to Aquaman, "The others?" To which Aquaman replies, "My friends are pulling them to the shore now. No casualties." Batman then says, "Thank you, Aquaman." Then Aquaman says to Batman, "Batman, this was a Wayne Enterprise black site, an off-the-books drilling operation in my ocean?" Aquaman then continues to say to Batman, "You weren't just keeping this place hidden from the surface world, you were keeping it hidden from Atlantis. From me. What are you looking for, Bruce?" Batman then tells Aquaman, "With what I know is locked underneath Atlantis, is that really a question you want to ask me? What we need to be asking is simpler than that, Arthur. What are they hiding?" We then see a person sending a message. "He can look all he wants, but he won't find out. Lady Blackhawk to control. Bring me home." We then jump over to the planet Mogo, where we see the Guardian Ganthet with Green Lantern Hal Jordan, and Ganthet says, "Hal Jordan from Earth, I am temporarily pulling you from active duty. I have a private mission for you, of paramount importance. This mission must remain secret from your fellow Lanterns, particularly your fellow Earthmen." Hal Jordan then replies by saying, "This isn't going to be one of those happy secret missions, is it, Ganthet?" Then Ganthet tells Hal, "There are rumblings in every corner of the universe, whispers of a stirring in the dark. A terrible truth is coming to the light on your planet." Then Hal tells Ganthet, "Wait, these are the coordinates? This is the source of the threat?" Ganthet then asks, "Is there a problem, Hal Jordan?" We then see Hal take off and fly to Earth as he's heading to the coordinates Ganthet gave him, which is the location of Wayne Manor in Gotham City. Then Hal says, No problem at all." We then see Hal Jordan enter the Batcave, and Hal says to himself, "There's more spooky crap in this place every time I visit. Alright, let's find what's got Ganthet's robe in a bunch and get the hell out of this mausoleum." Then, suddenly, out of nowhere, we see Duke Thomas kick Hal Jordan in the face and say to Hal, "I don't think so. Sorry, Green Lantern. I'm on strict orders from Batman. No one is allowed in the cave right now. Not even family." We then see Hal Jordan grab a hold of Duke with a green energy construct. Then Hal says, "Yeah, that's not suspicious at all." Then Duke says, "Thought I read that little ring of yours doesn't work on yellow." Then Hal replies, "It does if you know what you're doing." To which Duke replies, "That doesn't make any sense." We then see Hal Jordan scanning the Batcave, as it seems like he's looking for something. Then Hal jokes to Duke, "Glad to see Batman still recruiting teenagers. You're new, aren't you? What's your name? Yellow Robin? Canary? Big Bird?" Then Duke says, "All you need to know is that Batman left me here with a job to do, and that if you don't get out of here right now, you're gonna regret it." Hal Jordan then says to Duke, "Oh, you're doing the voice and everything. Seriously, kid, what's your name?" Then Duke answers, "Duke Thomas. I don't have a code name yet. What are you doing?" Then Hal puts his hand on the wall of the Batcave and tells Duke, "Scanning for something." There! And it seems like Hal Jordan has activated a button in the Batcave. Then we see Hal Jordan enter the wall. Now the Duke is free from the energy contract. He chases after Green Lantern and says, "Hey, come back here!" We then go to a place called the Campus, which is located 1 mile beneath Philadelphia. We see 2 men both wearing cloaks, looking at a vision of a woman. The woman they're watching screams, "Die, die, die!" Then one of the cloaked men says, "Her name is Elaine Thomas." The second cloaked man then says, "She seems like a charmer." Then the first man says, "She was once, before the Joker's toxins ripped her mind apart, before her son Duke had moved into Wayne Manor. I had made her an offer many years ago, an offer to join a secret battle that stretched back to the dawn of time, an offer to live forever." The second cloaked man then says, "She didn't take you up on it, I'm guessing, so why is the great and powerful Immortal Man walking down memory lane?" Then the Immortal Man says, "Miss Thomas reactivated briefly a few weeks ago. I've been monitoring to make sure she hasn't revealed anything to anyone she shouldn't, but she remains incapable of divulging our secrets, no matter how hard the Batman pries. We needn't worry about her." The Immortal Man then goes on to say, "Our secrecy is paramount to our success. The world of public heroes is careening towards a crisis unlike anything they've seen before, and it will be up to the Immortal Men to preserve mankind's future, if any of us survive long enough to see it." Then we see images of Hawkman and Hawkgirl during their many battles, as we hear Carter Hall narrate a passage from his journal. "From that night on, that fateful night in the Egyptian desert, my story is well known. The ship was made of a mysterious substance called ninth metal. It gave me and my wife and our mortal enemy Hat-Set eternal life, sending us into a cycle of reincarnation. Shahar and I fighting on the side of good, Hat-Set on that of evil. We were born hundreds, even thousands of times over, each cast against each other. But the truth is, sometimes in those dark moments, those moments in between lives, before being born again, I would catch a glimpses of something bigger, a mystery beyond our lives, our story. Something terrifying, something on a scale I'd never seen before. A dream. No, not a dream. A nightmare echoing through the metal." We then see a glimpse of Carter Hall's vision, in what seems like a giant statue of Batman, made of metal, standing in a destroyed city, with bat signals shining down around it. Carter Hall wakes up from his nightmare, then he looks at his mace, then he reads a passage from his journal that says, "So I began following a mystery of my own. Something I told no one about, not until now, here in these pages. A mystery that would take me places I never dreamed." We then see Batman in the present day, at his lunar Batcave on the moon. Batman is standing on a green light, then he says, "Computer, send a message to Lucius. Black Site 14 is down. I want Site 15 up and running within the week. Keep this one away from the ocean." Batman then places something in the computer, as he says, "Create an uplink to the Shadow Drive, adding new geological data for comparisons." We then hear a voice say to Batman, "So it's as bad as you thought it would be." Then Batman throws a few batarangs, and they hit Mr. Terrific's T-Spears. As it turns out, he was the voice. Mr. Terrific then grabs one of his T-Spears and says to Batman, "Hey, what did my T-Spears ever do to you?" To which Batman answers, "Throw off the calibration of my computers. I didn't realize you were back in our universe, Michael." Mr. Terrific then says to Batman, "This mystery of yours has made me a little queasy about crossing back and forth. It seemed time I came home for good, but Mr. Terrific always keeps his promises. Here's all the data I could gather from the other world." Then Batman says, "Have you told anyone what we've been working on either Earth?" Mr. Terrific then shows Batman his jacket, as he says, "I didn't put fair play on my jacket for laughs. I know what's at stake when the Batman comes and says he needs a second set of eyes to help see the big picture. You don't break that trust." Batman and Mr. Terrific then sit down at the computer, as Batman says, "And now how big is that picture looking?" To which Mr. Terrific replies by saying, "I'll be honest, Batman, I have an IQ of 179, and I have no idea what any of this means. The frequency that's being generated across the worlds is growing stronger, but it's not steady at all. It seems random, like a compass spinning wildly out of control." Batman then says, "Huh." Then he walks down a set of stairs in his lunar Batcave. Mr. Terrific follows and says to Batman, "That just sparked something, didn't it? There's nothing I know of on this Earth that could get you a clear reading on that data. It would take something massive, something practically cosmic on scale." Then Batman says, "Yes, it will, and where it leads me, there may be no coming back. And Michael, I'm going to need you to do something while I follow this path to the end. I've already extracted the molecules I needed from his body. We all agreed he was too unstable, that there was no ends to what he would do if we weren't careful, but I'm going to need him for what comes next. It's time to let him out of the box." Mr. Terrific smiles and says, "You damn right it is." The two then walk into a room where we see an egg-shaped thing being held in a cryo state, and if you don't know the symbol, it's Plastic Man. We then go back to the Batcave on Earth in Gotham City with Hal Jordan and Duke Thomas. Green Lantern shines his ring into the dark of the cave and says to Duke, "Seriously, only Batman would have a secret cave inside his secret cave." Then Duke says, "I told you, we're not supposed to be here." Hal Jordan looks around and says, "What is this place?" Then a voice answers, "Oh, I can clear that up for you." Then Hal turns to Duke, and Duke says, "Don't look at me, I didn't say anything." Then Hal Jordan says, "Ring, how many life signatures ahead?" And the ring tells Hal, "Cannot reply, interference." Hal then looks at his ring and says, "This doesn't make any sense." The voice then answers again by saying, "It wouldn't, would it? A mystery never does at first." Duke then says, "Mystery! Alfred, is that you?" The voice then says, "Oh yes, our friend with the pointy ears has been following it for years. It all started with a tooth, a metal tooth that can bring the dead back to life, the bedrock of an organization that stretched back centuries." Duke then says, "The Court of Val, right, Dick? I mean, if you're not Alfred, you have to be." The voice then goes on to tell Duke and Hal Jordan, "You see, a metal shouldn't be able to do what electrium could do. No compound of silver and gold could make the dead Talons walk again. And so, Batman had his thread, and he pulled, and he extracted something from the metal, a strange substance he had never seen before, a metal that science couldn't explain." The Green Lantern then grabs his hand in pain, and Duke says, "What's wrong?" Then Hal Jordan tells Duke, "My ring is burning." The voice then tells him, "Oh, you can feel it, can't you? The power. So could he, and it consumed him. What was his strange metal? What's his connection to the Owls? Why did it share an energy signature with so many of the most powerful artifacts on the planets?" We then see the mask of Naboo, which was once worn by Dr. Fate, an Atlantean trident, and a pair of Amazonian bracelets. Then we hear the voice speak again. "So we formed the first team, the first of many who were tasked with investigating all of this, a team that can move outside of Batman's influences. Together, these outsiders would operate without the knowledge of the Justice League, the government, or even his precious Bat family, uncovering more hidden truths about the metal." Then, Duke and Hal are shown images of Batman's outsiders, where we see Metamorpho, Batman, Black Lightning, Katana, Halo, and Geoforce. Duke then says, "Wait a minute, Batman has a Black Ops team?" Then Green Lantern says, "Something's really wrong in here. I've been to every corner of the universe, and my ring's never done this before. We should fall back." We then hear the voice say, "Oh, no. You can't do that. I've been dying for a chance to see you both face to face. We're all connected, you see. I was hoping someone would come meddling, and I've been so lonely down here." We then hear Duke say, "Look, I'm done kidding around. We're talking about Batman. You think I don't know he has secrets? If he's been putting together some kind of mystery for years, and he hasn't told me, he has a reason." Then the voice replies to Duke by saying, "Oh, you can't turn back now. The next bit's the best part. It has all to do with a liquid metal, shimmering green, a metal that changed everything. They called it dynesium. But he wasn't the only one who found it, was he?" Duke then shouts in fear, "No!" Then Green Lantern yells, "What the hell's going on in here? Who are you?" Then the voice says, "Oh, I think he's starting to put the pieces together, just like I did. You see, he was dragged into this world for a reason. The same reason, I'm sure, your celestial bosses sent you digging for answers. Because Batman is getting closer to the truth." Hal then says, "Show yourself." Then Hal tries to use his ring, and it says, "Cannot comply. Anomaly detected." Then Hal says to Duke, "My arm's on fire. Let's go back to the cave. I can bring in the League. Something's very wrong here." Duke then says, "No, we keep going." The voice then says to Hal, "Oh, Mr. Green Lantern, are you afraid?" Then Hal says, "I don't get afraid." The voice then says, "Oh, I think you do. I think we all do. It's in that very moment of discovery, when you're about to learn something you will never be able to unlearn. Something that puts all the pieces together, and you finally see the truth, and the world changes, and you know it will never go back to the way it was before. But if you're so very brave, then open the door." We then go to Egypt, where we see Carter Hall looking at artifacts, as we hear readings from his journal, in which Carter says, "You don't even realize it when it's happening. One minute you're following the clues, and the next, they're pointing forward, dragging you. I studied this metal alone for years, trying to unlock the secrets of its abilities. What I came to understand was that it was conducting energy, powerful energy, from somewhere beyond my understanding. I dug deeper, followed every clue I could find, until one day, I got a glimpse of a story that began with the first man to walk the earth, 3 tribes, or rather, 4. We then see Carter Hall looking at 3 tablets. The first has a picture of a bird, the second is of a bear, and the third is a wolf. Then Carter finds the secret 4th tablet, and on it we see the image of a bat. We then see that Carter is in an Egyptian palace, surrounded by ancient treasure and a Thanasgarian ship. We then hear a reading from Carter Hall's journal, in which he reads, "And something else. I was a part of something bigger, something beyond my control, and I would do anything in my power to uncover what had been taken from me, the secret that stretched back to the dawn of my species, no matter what the cost." We then see Batman flying his jet over the Arctic Circle, where he lands at the Fortress of Solitude. Batman walks up to a door in the ice and yells, "Clark, I know you're in there, let me in!" Superman opens up his door and greets Batman by saying with a smile, "You know it wouldn't kill you to say please every now and then." Batman walks in and says to Clark, "I think it actually might." Superman then says, "What's wrong, Bruce? You look worried. Your heart's racing." And Batman answers, "I'm fine." Then Superman says with concern, "Bruce!" Then Batman tells Clark, "There's a room you gave me, years ago, deep under the fortress. I asked you to never look what I put inside." Then Clark tells Bruce, "And I never have, once." Batman then says, "I told you that the day would come, that I would need to open that door, and that I would need to walk through it alone." Then Superman says, "Bruce, if this is too big for you, I'm right here. You know that, don't you?" Then Batman replies, "I do. Thank you, I do. It won't be long now. I'm not trying to keep people away this time. I swear. That's not what I'm doing. I just need to understand what I'm looking at first. Superman then says to Batman with a serious look, I've seen that door, Bruce. There's nothing from this world that could open it. Then we see Mr. Miracle in the Fortress of Solitude, and he says to Superman, I think that's why he called me. We then see Mr. Miracle, Superman, and Batman all standing at the steps to the door, and Mr. Miracle says, you built a secret room at the top of the world with one door and a lock that no human could ever unlock. What did you do with the key? Then Batman tells him, I shot it into the sun. Then Mr. Miracle says, that's a joke, right? Right? Then Batman says, can you open it? Then we see Mr. Miracle fly up to the door as he says, they don't call me Mr. Miracle for nothing. We then see sparks fly from the door as it begins to open. Then Mr. Miracle says, Batman, that can't be what I think it is. You can't have been stupid enough to hold on to. Then Batman says, thank you, Scott. That'll be all. Mr. Miracle then opens up a portal as he warns Batman by saying, Batman, whatever has brought you here, you need to turn back now. Then Batman says, that'll be all. Then we hear a loud boom as Mr. Miracle leaves. We then hear Carter Hall narrate a passage from his journal. I wish I could go back to that moment and warn myself. I write this journal for anyone foolish enough to pick up my trial. Whatever you do not follow in my footsteps. We then see that behind Batman's door, that's deep inside the Fortress of Solitude, is the anti-monitors machine from Crisis on Infinite Earths. Then Batman walks up to it as he says, like a compass, computer, run all vibrational data through the tower. We should be able to track the exact dimensional frequency of the dark energy. The computer says, receiving data. Then Batman says, it's time then. Time to see what's in the dark, once and for all. Then we hear a passage from Carter Hall's journal, in which he says, I beg of you, whoever might be reading this, however many generations might have passed, do not follow the mysteries of the metal. Some mysteries are best unsolved, some doors best left unopened, because through them, all you'll find is horror. We then go back to Duke Thomas and Hal Jordan, who are deep within the secret part of the Batcave, as Hal says, Batman, what the hell have you gotten yourself into? Then, the unknown voice says to them, oh, I can tell you that. Then we see, at the end of the path, that the unknown voice belongs to the Joker, and he says to Duke and Hal, this is a mystery that stretches back to the dawn of time. It's bigger than all of us. It's sure as hell bigger than you. You don't understand. It was all a cruel joke. You're just another couple of pieces in Batman's puzzle, just like me. Ha 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 ha! We start the story off at a museum in St. Roch, where we see Hawkman and Hawkgirl in the Egyptian wing of the museum, headed towards the tomb of Shahara. We then hear Carter Hall read a passage from his journal, in which he says, in Cairo they called me an adventurer, in Athens they called me a philosopher, but at my small museum in the quiet American city of St. Roch, in the first decade of the 20th century, I was an archaeologist. The job itself never changed. The human story is a mystery told by a billion unreliable narrators, and for the duration of our species, I had been nothing more than a detective. The mission was always the same, to carry forward the torch of discovery and reveal the secrets hiding in the darkest shadows, the truth buried deep beneath millennia of human memory. We then see Hawkman and Hawkgirl making their way towards an exhibit, where they see a group of people all wearing red cloaks, as we hear a passage from Carter Hall's journal that reads, we had found them over many lifetimes, lurking at a site in human history, unchanging, all-seeing. We had long heard the rumors of the Rhyme and Demon of Camelot, brothers who keep secret mysteries, a man as old as America, the grove of ancient humanoid plants, keepers of secrets and mysteries, of sorcerers, shining knights, cavemen and phantom strangers of all stripes. None had ever thought to bring them together, the Immortals. We then see Hawkman and Hawkgirl talking with a group known as the Immortal Men, as we hear Carter Hall read a passage from his journal. I told them what I knew, that our lives had not begun in Egypt, that they began generations earlier. The Dark Priest had set. He had not cast us down this path of reincarnation. He had taken our past away from us. He had obscured the truth behind the metal that we wore in our wings and belts, in service of something darker than any mortal could comprehend. A figure stepped from the back. His voice was like the rumble of thunder. He spoke of the metal that changed everything, and the terrible being that it had brought forth, the being from beyond all our understandings. We then see that the wizard Shazam is one of the Immortal Men, and as he steps forward, he pulls out a knife that has an aura of lightning around it. Then we see one of the cloaked immortals say to the other, Al Ghul, do you see what I see? To which Ra's al Ghul answers, yes, Miss Stewart, I do. The wizard Shazam then stabs the pedestal with a knife, sending out shocks of lightning, as we hear Carter Hall read a passage from his journal. The being that was cast out and sought desperately to return, to tear down all that was light in the world, and drag it into the dark, and the truth would hit us like lightning. We are then brought to Methina, Greece, where we see Batman in a suit of armor as he is fighting a hippogriff with a spear. The hippogriff attacks Batman, breaking his spear. Then we see Wonder Woman fly in and say, enough, Epatron! This human falls under the protection of Themyscira. Wonder Woman then pets a creature as she says, I am certain Batman was about to ask politely for safe passage to your patron's temple. To which Batman replies by saying, I was going to do that next. Then Wonder Woman says to Batman, you should have called me, Bruce. This is not a part of the world. Any mortal should walk alone. After the hippogriff drops the two off at a nearby temple, we see the creature fly away. Then Batman says to Wonder Woman, I promise you, Diana, I wouldn't be here if it weren't absolutely necessary. I am so damn close to the answers, I need to make sense of all I've seen. I need someone with a greater perspective. Someone who was there when this was all set into motion. Then Diana says, how did you discover the entrance to this place? Batman then tells Diana, I found a scroll from a death cult of smith workers, buried deep in the Alps, dating back to 200 AD. They described the treacherous path to the great forge of Hepatus. They threw themselves in the fire when they reached it. They would become the fuel of his creations themselves. Then Diana replies,
And that's what you wish, Bruce? Make yourself a sacrifice to the gods? There are easier ways. Then Batman says,
Diana, I need to speak with him.
As Wonder Woman opens the temple doors, she says to Batman, I'm sorry, Bruce, but you're too late. The gods have abandoned Earth. They have barred the gates of Olympus behind them. Then Batman says with a serious look,
Why would they leave?
to which Wonder Woman replies, I shouldn't be telling you any of this, Bruce. They believe a war is coming. A war that will not only shape the Earth, but the cosmos themselves. A crisis that will shake the very firmament and douse the light of creation. I can see in your eyes that you see it coming too. How can you know the thinking of the gods?
Batman then says to Wonder Woman, I no fear, Diana. Use your lasso if you think I'm hiding anything from you. I'm not. The further I follow this mystery, the more frightened I become. Every question leads to more questions. I had hoped Hepatus would be able to shine a light into the darkness. Wonder Woman then pulls out a sword surrounded by flames as she tells Batman,
He may still. Before I came to you, I had a vision. The great hound, war form of Hepatus, sat before me with eyes of fire and told me I would need to come here and that I would need to give you this. This is the Sunblade, Bruce. It was created for Apollo at the dawn of human civilization. One of 12 weapons, created for each pantheon. Humans are not meant to know these weapons even exist, let alone wield one. They were forged with the most powerful metal Hepatus has ever worked with. They called it the 8th metal. It is not the pure form you seek, but if you follow its light, it will guide you to where you need to go.
Batman then asks Diana, the 8th?
Then Wonder Woman hands Bruce a Sunblade, as she tells him, Mark my words, Bruce, the gods have given you the sun to light your way. Do not throw it away for the darkness, and most of all, be weary of the gods. They have their own agendas. Then Bruce holds the sword as he says,
So do I. There's something beginning in the world, and somehow I found myself at its center. It's as though I can hear a message calling from the shadows, but the more I try to listen, the more it sounds like laughter. We then jump over to the Batcave in Gotham City, where we see the Joker behind an energy field, with Hal Jordan and Duke Thomas on the other side. The Joker then laughs and says, Ha ha ha! Do you see the big picture yet, Green Lantern? Or am I going to have to spell it out for you in big plain letters? Hal Jordan then points his finger at the Joker and says, We've listened to enough of your insanity, Joker. There isn't a single reason we should trust a damn word you say. Just thinking about Batman locking you away down here for God knows how long? Then Duke says to Hal, Trust me, GL, I'm going to have a talk with Batman when he gets back. The Joker then says to Duke, Why so angry, Duke? Is it because you're the also-ran, the not good enough to get the real job done Robin? Or is it because the last time I saw you, I poisoned your parents past the brink of sanity and tried to have them shot right in front of your impressionable eyes? Ha 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 ha! Duke then reaches through the energy field to attack the Joker, as Duke says, Oh, I'll hurt you! Hal then grabs Duke and says, Get back, Duke! You don't want to mess with that energy field! As Duke is knocked back into Hal, the Joker laughs and says, Ha 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 ha! See? I haven't had fun like this in ages! The Joker then says with an evil grin on his face, That's how it all started. You know, a bit of fun. I cut off my face and thought I'd kill his whole family. You know how it is. Get rid of the kids and rekindle the romance, the old flame. But it turns out, he likes the brats. So there I was, tumbling down into the dark of the deepest corner of the Batcave, and splash! I must admit, I thought I was a goner, until I woke up in the dark, and this shimmering green metal was running all over me, stitching my wounds back together, putting my face back just right. We then see a memory of the Joker standing in a cave naked, in green liquid, as the Joker tells Hal Jordan and Duke, and then I saw it, towering over me, a mark on the wall, older than Gotham, older than civilization, the bat behind the bat. I needed to know more, and there were people. They knew, the owls knew, that lunatic crazy quilt knew. You see, it was all a great conspiracy, the pieces planted for generations. Birds had become bats, light had become dark, sanity had become insanity. The Joker then goes on to say, It was coming. I could feel it in me. Even when I wasn't myself, I could still feel it in my head. An echo in the shadows calling the real me back to the surface. I'm sure you know what I mean, Duke. You must have felt it too. You're probably feeling it right now. That pesky little force field sure is reacting strangely to your body, don't you think? Duke then says in a panic, You did this! I don't know how! You knew! The Joker then reaches and grabs a hold of Duke, as he says, Then you're not listening! And with that, the energy field shuts down, knocking both Duke and Hal down to the ground. Now that the Joker is free, he then tells Duke, It's still in me! It's in you! It's all around us! I just needed to create a circuit to escape, and you did the job wonderfully. Hal then yells at the Joker by saying, No! Won't let you get free! Suddenly, the light shut off in the Batcave, as the security system sounds an alarm that says, Defensive measures activated, cutting off power to sub-cave alpha, smile protocol in effect. The Joker then whispers in Duke's ear, See? The dark is coming. Ha! Then Duke yells, GL, light up the room! We can't let him get away! Hal then tries to shine his ring's light. Then he says, Damn it, I can't! Ring's still short now! I don't know what the hell is happening! The Joker then says with an evil smile, Okay, I know how this story is going to end, because it's all happened before! We then see Carter Hall and Cher exploring a cave as we hear a passage from Carter Hall's journal in which he narrates, "The immortal spoke of the tribes at the dawn of man, the arrival of the strange metal that would change everything, brought to this world by a tear in the fabric of reality, and the demon that rose from the dark, and nearly conquered us all." At first we didn't believe. The scale of what they were telling us was too huge, too frightening. We set out to confirm their story, to find any evidence that it was all a lie. But instead, we found countless paintings on every continent, hidden in the deepest cave systems, all telling the same dark story. We then see the image of a demon on the cave wall, as well as the image of a betrayal happening. As Carter Hall and Cher walk deeper into the cave, we hear Carter Hall read from his journal. "They spoke of the Hawk tribe, where my story had truly begun, though I did not remember it. They spoke of the betrayal of the Judas of the birds, who sided with the demon. The demon who took the signal of the great and terrible bat, the plague bringer, the scourge of mankind. My wife and I, we died fighting it back into the darkness whence it came, shuttering the door between its world and ours. That was the truth had severed from us by recreating the scene a millennia later. He, the emissary of the same dark forces that nearly fell humanity before it began. Birds and bats, forever at war. The immortals told us the metal was cursed. It needed to be eliminated, as its power came from the same darkness that begat this great destroyer." We then see memories from Carter Hall's past, where we see the Blackhawks, as Carter Hall reads a passage from his journal. But this strange metal, it had meant so much more to us. It had brought us wonders, brought us wings, and countless lives. I knew I had to understand more. I needed to see the place from which this power came, and it took decades to build the technology we needed. We recruited adventurers from around the world who shared our values, our certainty that the nature of the cosmos was benevolent. We then see Carter Hall and Cher going over the data. Then we see the challengers of the unknown, as Carter Hall continues to read from his journal. We wouldn't be beaten down by the unknown. We would challenge it. The wizard's knife gave us the power we needed to chart our way into the darkness, and we were ready to understand the true nature of things ourselves and the worlds around us. I remember Shahara's hand in mine, holding tight as the switch was flipped. Then I remember the earth shaking, as if it had been torn apart, and the screaming. We then see a huge explosion, right in front of where Carter Hall and Shahara were conducting their experiment, as Carter Hall continues to read from his journal. As I stared into the darkness, where Challenger's Mountain had stood, I felt a chill down my spine, and I saw the eyes of something great and terrible, staring back at me through the abyss. We see a massive pair of eyes, staring Carter and Shahara right in their faces, as Carter reads from his journal. Eyes, waiting in the darkness, waiting for something, someone. We then go to the Saharan Desert, where we see Batman, cutting his way through a wall, with the sun blade leading his way. Batman knocks on a wall and says, "Computer, access your shadow drive. Record new audio file. I feel like I'm running out of time." 60 miles from the coast of Greece, the sunblade began to vibrate to an unknown source that has led me here, to a secret base of unknown origin, deep under the Saharan Desert, searching for answers, and all I find are more mysteries. Send an alert to Black Lightning. I need the outsiders to scour the surroundings. And then, suddenly, a voice says, "Batman, you must turn back." Batman then sees who the voice belongs to, as he says, "Dublix, this is a Cadmus base?" Then Dublix responds to Batman by saying, "No, Batman, that is what it was. What it has become is far darker. The DNA Project had tracked the beings within their blood, and they began to activate them with a power source they did not understand." Then Batman says, "What are you saying? What caused this?" Dublix then tells Batman, "The metal you seek is cursed, Batman. The energy in it is roiling and dark. Everything it touches corrupts. See for yourself. See the damage it has wrought." We then see a demon within the Cadmus base trying to escape, but Dublix is holding it back with a psychic aura the best he can, as Dublix then continues to tell Batman, "Too weak. Cannot hold the psychic projection. You must turn back now, before it corrupts you too. I feel its grip tightening on you." Then Batman tells Dublix, "You need to tell me where this metal is. I need to see what's coming." Dublix then says, "No, Batman, run!" We then see Dublix get knocked out by Talia al Ghul. Then Talia says, "He fought so bravely to prevent me from taking my birthright. I almost pity the creature. Hello, beloved." Then Batman tells Talia, "It's been a long time since beloved. What are you doing here, Talia?" Then Talia tells Bruce, "The same thing as you, I suppose. You seek something of great power, and it eludes the grasp of the demon, Bruce." Then Batman says, "What does Ra's al Ghul know, Talia?" Then Talia answers by saying, "At the dawn of the 20th century, my father and others of his like came together to discuss a great mystery. One of them produced a powerful dagger made from the strange metal you seek. My father spent decades trying to reacquire it. He ultimately succeeded, picking it from the ruins of a private military base in the Rocky Mountains. He's supposed to right people, would pay good money to tap into its powers." Then Bruce says to Talia, "So you've come to do your father's bidding." Then Talia says, "No, Batman. There's been secret battles to suppress the power of this metal for decades, but its power has only grown with time, tainting more and more. True war is now inevitable. You must know this. You have one of the potentials living under your roof." Talia then tells Bruce, "I came for the knife to ready myself for war. It darkens day by day, its terrible power growing." Then Batman says with blood on his face, "I've heard rumblings. Leviathan moving against you, the great assassins you've brought back into the fold." Talia then tells Batman, "You have nothing to fear from the silencer, Bruce, nor from me." Batman then pulls out the Sunblade and says, "Talia, what if I could offer you a trade? The 8th form of the metal for the 9th. Then Talia answers Bruce by saying, "You would trade light for darkness. You would give me the power of a god?" Then Batman says, The world is at a moment of great imbalance. I help the mother of my son, the daughter of my enemy. So should the moment come where I need to call upon her for a greater favor, perhaps she'll answer. Talia then pulls out the dagger, then says to Bruce,
Very well. They say you can hear the name of the wizard who forged the dagger when you hold it in your hand.
Then Talia hands the dagger to Bruce and tells him,
It carries a piece of his great power, the power of Shazam.
We then see in the dagger the thunderbolt symbol of Shazam. We then go back to the Batcave, where Duke Thomas yells, We need light, damn it! Then Hal Jordan says, I'm trying! Then Duke says, Joker, show yourself! Then we see the Joker smashing Batman's machine from Super Heavy, as he says, I can't let him dig any deeper. There's no telling what will happen next. If he does, he doesn't understand how important he is. Not like I do. Duke then says, It's some kind of machine. Then Hal Jordan says, What is this thing? I don't get it, Joker. Where's the joke in all of this? Then Joker says to Hal, with an angry look on his face, This isn't funny. Hal Jordan then uses his ring and says, Get away from me. Then the Joker smashes Hal Jordan in the face with a crowbar as he says, Don't you understand? This is what your alien boss has sent you here to stop. If he uses the machine, that'll be the end of everything. Then Duke tackles the Joker as they fall deeper into the Batcave. As the two are falling, Duke punches the Joker in the face as the Joker says, Oh, Duke, I see why you're so angry. You've never quite fit in here, have you? No matter how much Batman pretends you belong, like the Giant Penny or the T-Rex, there's something different about you. Duke then continues to punch the Joker in the face as he says, Shut up! The Joker then laughs with blood coming out of his mouth as he tells Duke, Aren't you curious? Isn't there a part of you that wants to know why Batman picked you? Why I picked you? Did you know? At Gotham Mercy Hospital, there's an automatic flag that goes up when something unusual is detected in a blood sample. It's kind of a metal toxicity, but they can't really track any of the effects because it sure as hell isn't iron. It isn't even mercury. The first doctor to put that flag up, the program only gave him 4 characters to designate that flag. But he did the best he could, and I've seen that file for both you and your mom. We then see Duke's hand around the Joker's throat. As the Joker has a bloody smile on his face, he tells Duke, Meta! And Batman's tracking down as many of you as he can for years now. Don't you get it? A whole new generation of superheroes and supervillains. The soldiers of the war that will rip this world apart. The Joker then cracks Duke with his crowbar as he changes the tide of the battle. Then Joker says to Duke, Tell the computer to pull the meta files sometime. You can see them all for yourself. People with that crazy metal running through their veins. You've seen what it can do in its other forms. Can you imagine what it does to people? What am I saying? Of course you can! I know the truth, Duke. I know what you're here to do. You'll let him see in the dark. That's all you are, Duke. That's the role you're destined to play. You are the signal, and I can't allow that. So I'm going to have to kill you now. Duke then kicks the Joker off of him as he says, No! I won't let you! As Duke falls deeper into the Batcave, the Joker looks down and says, And the signal goes dark! Ha 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 ha! Then the Joker breaks Batman's machine. Then he says, And now to write the grand finale of this sordid tale, so we can get back to the good stuff, bats and clowns, not bats and birds. This has gone on long enough. We then hear Hal Jordan say, You're damn right, Joker! Then, Joker turns around to see Hal Jordan flying in the Batjet with Duke on its wing, as Hal tells Joker, Something you probably should have known before you knocked me in a Bat's underground hangar. I'm a decorated member of the United States Air Force. Your story time is over. Then the Joker's eyes go wide as he says, No! We then see the house of Carter Hall as he reads a passage from his journal, in which he says, There was a time I believed the world got a little better. Every time we solved one of the great mysteries, when we mastered the law of nature, with our wit and our science, I felt like we were marching onward and upward. Towards the kind of utopia of science and wonder that first captured my imagination when I saw the Thanascarian ship crashing on my life as Khufu. They were scientists. We would discern. We thought they came bearing gifts and knowledge. Now I know the reason they brought the Nth metal here. They came to warn us of what they knew was on the other side. They didn't come to help us move forward into the light. They were here to stop us in our tracks, so the universe would never fall prey to the ambitions of a small world that even a millennia later can barely get past its own moon. Carter Hall continues to read from his journal as he says, This is the final chapter of my journal. I believe I found a way to penetrate the barrier of our reality and enter the dark myself. I still believe in my heart that there is wonder and hope out there in the unknown, at the center of all this incredible power, but that hope seems more foolish with each passing day. I feel the encroaching darkness, pointing doubt deep in my mind. The others. Even my wife believes that the mystery is, and always has been, a trap dragging us into nightmares, begging us to let those nightmares free and destroy our world. And it is true. Our enemy has grown stronger than I could have ever imagined, and they keep killing my spies. As I get closer to determining their plans, I've done my best to avert their endgame. We then see Carter Hall give a man his journal. As he heads out, he continues to read from his journal. I am entrusting this journal and the terrible secrets of the family that has always been most loyal to the birds, with the command to hide it, unless I fail and the beast comes again. Then, and only then, will this journal reveal itself. We then see Carter Hall open a portal to the darkness as he reads from his journal. They know how important this is. They must stay far away from the dark and frightening truth lurking under the world, trying to force itself through. I stand with my torch facing the dark. I believe I will find something out there, a glimmer of potential, but I know that I'm likely wrong, that all I will find is darkness itself. I walk towards my end alone, so no man would ever be foolish enough to follow. We then go back to the Batcave, where we see the Joker laugh. Ha 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 ha! Then Duke, Thomas, and Hal Jordan are standing on the Batjet as the Joker is being held in the Batjet's claws, as Duke tells the Joker, "What's so funny?" Then the Joker replies by saying,
"It's happening again! No matter what I do, it keeps on coming! Everything is going backwards, and neither of you understand! You don't even realize that this time, I was being the good guy! A dark crisis is coming, and here you are! Two bright burning lights, calling it forward!"
Duke puts his hand on his head and says, "GL, something's wrong!" Then Joker smirks and says,
I mean, come on! How is that not funny?
Duke then holds his head and says, "It's like I can feel something getting closer." Then Joker tells them,
All the pieces are connected, and the puzzle always comes together in the form of a bat.
a yellow light then shines from Duke as he screams, "No! No!" Then Duke falls off the Batjet, and Hal jumps down to catch him, as Hal says, "Duke!" Once Hal catches Duke, Duke says, "The Joker! Where did he?" Then we see Batman arrive at the Batcave, as he says, "Jordan, what the hell did you do to my cave?" Then Hal Jordan tells Batman, "What did I do? This was the Joker!" To which Batman replies, "You let him out! Do you have any idea?" Then Hal tells Batman, "How many Justice League bylaws you're breaking for locking up one of the most dangerous people on the planet in your basement without telling anyone?" "Yeah, Bruce, I do." Batman then yells at Hal Jordan, "I needed him!" Then Hal says, "For what?" To fill in every gap in this insane conspiracy theory with lies, secret metals with incredible power, shaping human history. I mean, come on! And based on what you told the League, you can't even be sure that was the real Joker. Bruce, we need you to explain. What's going on here? Then Batman tells Hal and Duke, "It's been a long time putting these pieces together, finding what I needed to look back into the dark." Then Duke says, "Back?" Then Batman tells him, "I call this my final invention. It was designed to ensure the city would always have a Batman. But before it was finished, I died at the hands of Joker, and that would have been the end of my story. If not for the metal, if not for the Dynesium, I would have lost my life, and not just my memory. Ultimately, I used the machine to reconstitute myself. But the metal was still nestled in the cracks of my skull, and when the machine activated, I saw something impossible. Impossible versions of myself dying over and over again. We then see images of many different versions of Batman, dying. Then Batman goes on to tell Duke and Hal, "Nothing in the machine I built would have given me those visions. It was in the metal, this incredible powerful metal. This metal I couldn't escape in any facet of my life, as though it was targeting me, over and over again, for some unknown reason, as though it wanted me to understand it. I began to rebuild the machine, from the ground up. I wanted to look inside the dark, and see the source of the metal's power. I knew that once I did, it would all come together. It would all make sense." Then Hal Jordan points at Batman and says, "Whatever you've been doing in here, caught the attention of the Guardians of the Universe, Batman." Then Batman says to Hal, "And that doesn't give you pause? Why would a mortal man on a backwater world doing a little archaeology require interference by intergalactic peacekeepers? Why does your ring, the most powerful weapon in the universe, cower in the face of a pure strand of this strange impossible metal?" Duke then tells Batman, "The Joker said you brought me in to study me, like some kind of experiment." Batman replies by saying, "The Joker lies, Duke. I never wanted to shape you. I only wanted to be there when you decided what you were going to become." We then see Batman pull out the dagger of the Wizard Shazam, as he says, "This was supposed to be the end of all of this. I had the dimensional frequency of the energy locked, and with this dagger, I had the power to see the truth at the heart of the mystery." Then, Duke's eyes begin to light up, as he says, "Whoa, that dagger! It's doing something to me! It's like I can see the whole machine still together, made of light! I see where this belongs, how it all fits together!" We see a yellow light from Duke's hand, outlining to him Batman's machine, in a yellow light. Duke's helmet then begins shattering, as he's surrounded in a yellow light. Then Duke says in a panic, "The Joker said this would happen! How could he know?" Then Batman says, "Hal, I know this makes you uncomfortable, but the night is getting blacker by every minute, and evil is far out of sight." Then Hal says, "Yeah, Batman, I know my oath." Then, Hal Jordan looks over at Duke and says, "Alright, kid, this Duke ring's just a loner, okay? If what I've been going through is any indication, this is gonna hurt a lot." Then Hal Jordan gives Duke Thomas the Green Lantern ring, and says, "You need to put all of yourself, all of your will into that ring, and show us what you see." Duke then uses the Green Lantern ring to show Batman and Hal what he sees through his new power with the green energy constructs. Then Duke says, "Whoa, Batman, it's all here! Psycho Pirate's mask, the Owl's Electrium." Then Batman says to Duke, "Hyperelastic molecules, ancient Themyscirian and Atlantean artifacts, relics of order and chaos. Together with your help, Duke, they will show me the way." Then Hal Jordan says, "Whatever you see in there, Bruce, I'm telling the Guardians. If this stuff can affect our rings, there's no telling how powerful it could be." Then Batman holds the Wizard Shazam's dagger in his hand, as he says, "I understand, Hal, and thank you." We then see Batman stab the pedestal with a dagger, as we hear Carter Hall read from his journal. There's a feeling you get at the end of an adventure. You feel it in the anxious quickening in your heart. In every tentative footstep you take, it's the fear of what you've done to bring you to that point. The knowledge that whatever mistakes you've made are yours alone. From here till eternity, it's the knowledge that there is no way back. At the beginning of your story, burn white hot with possibility, you feel the fire in your veins, the need to know, to explore, to understand. But with every step forward, your story cooled and hardened, pulling you towards a singular ending. An ending you can no longer choose, an ending that chooses you. From the Journal of Carter Hall. We then see Batman using his machine as he gets shocked with energy and collapses to the ground. Then Duke cries out, "Bruce!" Then Hal Jordan checks on Batman and says, "Bruce, what did you see?" Batman then tells the two. "Darkness. I don't understand. I did everything right, but all I saw was darkness." Duke then says, "What?" We are then brought 3,000 miles below Gotham City into a cave spewing with lava as we see a cult wearing black cloaks with masks that resemble the jaws of a bat with their glowing red eyes. We hear the leader of the cult then say, "It is done. He has stared into the abyss, and we have hidden what lies within. The final seal is broken. After all these generations, the sacrifice is at hand. Let us see them. Let us see what he should have seen if we had not prepared him correctly. The dark days are over. The dark nights are coming, and with them, the true father of Batman." We then see above the cult's bat statue, a portal open up, where we see in the portal a great bat and his Dark Knight army, and that ends today's story. Comic published by DC Comics. All rights, story art, and characters belong to DC Comics and their respective owners, not me. This has been Dark Days to Casting, and I'm your host, Keith One Shot. If you like this video, make sure to check out the rest of my Comic Complete dramatic reading series, and support DC Comics by picking up a copy of the trades and single issue comics. Support your local comic book shop, take care, and have a great day. Goodbye!